Yo, what is going on YouTube? Today we're going to be talking about Season 2 of Arcane, something we kind of been talking a lot on the channel a little bit. I dropped a video of why you should watch Arcane in general, Season 1, because it was absolutely phenomenal. It was so good, but it really showed, where anime could go, because this was art. This is one of the things where it's like, it was a masterpiece. And of course, it started the conversation, is it an anime, is it not an anime? Apparently they came out and kind of said it was, so it's kind of confirmed. So of course we'll clickbait the fuck out of it and put like anime of the year. Because honestly, if Cyberpunk got anime of the year, like you made that great point. That was such an insane thing you said. Like Cyberpunk got anime of the year. That was like a Netflix original, the same type of thing. So this better at least be nominated because season 2 was absolutely phenomenal. It was flawless, and there are so many things to go over. So first of all, we have an anime podcast where we talk about anime in general every single Tuesday. If you want to check it out, it's on the channel. And we also just talk about anime in general. A lot of sleeper animes we're going to be talking about, especially coming up. So the winter season doesn't have as many things to watch, and we got some heavy hitters coming. So if you're interested in that, stick around and check it out. But yeah, Arcane season 2 was absolutely incredible. We are going to have chapters on this. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I imagine it's going to be pretty chunky. We're going to have a lot of talking points of like topics that I thought like we got to talk about. I went back in some of the episodes and kind of looked for some. I mean, stuff like Ambessa's manipulation, Kate turning evil, Jinx Savika breaking everyone out of prison, which has some of my favorite scenes in the entire series. I mean, Jinx is getting made fun of for her pants. Like, oh, I am the most evil Jinx. Like, you're gonna they arrest me, and they're like, what? You're like, you're not Jinx. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm right here. Like, arrest me. Like, take me in. She's like, with those pants? And she's like, what the fuck's wrong with my pants, bro? Like, you kidding me? So like I thought that scene was absolutely so funny. But such a good like little mini excursion they went on, especially because that's when we saw Warwick. So that's gonna be fun to talk about. Jinx Vi and Warwick, that was amazing. Singe, I mean, if you don't play the game, let me know in the comments down below. Do you play the game or have you just watched Arcane? Because if you didn't play the game, there's so many things that you've missed. I'm sorry, it is just the truth. A lot of things that they kind of just showed us, and even if you play the game and understand the lore, you probably still missed it. Like, there's so much. We're going to be going over a decent amount of it. So if you played the game, haven't played the game, let me know in the comments down below. I'm interested to see how many people like just watch Arcane or have watched it because, they play League. Singe was a huge character that like they showed a lot but didn't say a lot. So if you didn't know, you're going to get confused. But Viktor and Jayce, I mean, that's a lot to talk about. Viktors Hivemind, where Jayce and Ekko were when they got sucked into the Arcane. Mel the Black Rose, the war. Jinx still being alive. Yes, she is still alive. Thank God. Because honestly, right down here, Isha, heartbreaking. I, crushed me when she died. So I was like, dude, if Jinx dies too, like, I'm done. I can't lose Jinx as well. Like, one of my favorite all-time characters. But yeah, she's still alive. I'm going to break down why we think it or why we know it. Because it's pretty much confirmed. We're going to be talking about stuff like the soundtrack. We're going to be talking about the future of, not Arcane, but like of this series. So this is the last season. There is no season 3, but they are going to be coming out with more projects of different regions with different characters. Now, they absolutely bodied with Arcane. People are saying that, hey, they can't beat this. They may come out with another show, but it's not going to be Arcane. I think it absolutely will decimate Arcane. I think Arcane's something we're going to look back on and be like, wow, that was like really good, but like from a nostalgic point of view. Because we all said that in season 1. Season 1 was so good, how can they beat it? Season 2 topped it. And in my opinion, we're going to get more into it, but, there's other regions with other characters that are just way better. You know what I mean? Like, Piltover vs. Zaun wasn't really a kind of a great story. I mean, you brought in Ambessa and made it into, like, this war and made it a bit more elaborate and chaotic, but when you think about it, it's kind of like plain. It's normal that they just did a phenomenal job making absolutely just exciting. Making it just like so enticing and engaging to follow. These characters weren't that popular or that beloved until the series came out. I mean, I'm gonna put a picture right here. Jinx looked like a methed out Harley Quinn before Arcane came out. Like, they completely reinvented her image in a way, and it made her a way more likable or lovable character. Like, it's the same thing with all of them. You know what I mean? So I think in the future, when they come out with other series, I feel like they're just going to absolutely just continue to do what they do and just destroy. I mean, they know what they're doing. They know how to write a story. They know how to design characters. They know how to work with the soundtrack because everything, every aspect was flawless in this entire series, not just season 2. So let's get right into it before we talk about Ambessa's manipulation and Kate turning evil, because I think, going in order of like when this kind of happened would be kind of cool. What's just your initial kind of reaction to season two?
I thought season two was awesome, and like I really enjoyed season one. And as somebody who doesn't play like League of Legends, like I don't play now, but I used to play years ago, like when I was still in high school. Like so, some of the characters were like familiar to me. Like I remember
Mm-hmm.
the names like Caitlyn, Warwick, and like some of the like Jayce definitely was one of the names I remembered. So it was like kind of cool to see them do something with those characters, but
Mm-hmm.
from enjoying like season one to moving to season two and just kind of seeing how things like evolve and then kind of come together and finish out, I thought was really, really impressive. And I think like my overall takeaway would be that like when you really spend the time and obviously the money in like investing in the story, like you really can make some pretty incredible content. Because like, I kind of lean on like your expertise in a way because you said like Piltover and Zon's not really like one of the focal points or like more exciting storylines to come out of League or like that you could do something with. For them to like blow it up this big and like kind of like drawing these emotional attachments to so many characters, I think is super impressive, especially when you have something that's established. Like I mentioned Cyberpunk before, but it wasn't like terribly successful until the anime, and then you have these like characters that you fall in love with or like are super cool or badass or whatever they are in the anime. Yeah, and like you get drawn to these characters and like you said, Jinx had a really good redesign and kind of like breathe some life into her character and her design. And that's just enough for people to like maybe check out the game or like check out Jinx as a character. So I think all in all, they did a really good job. In season two, just like it was a lot. Like I honestly really want to go back and watch it again, start to finish in like a more concise time frame and try and like um understand as much as I can because like I was telling you before, there's probably some Easter eggs and like bits of lore that I missed just being like a casual like fan of League. You know what I mean? I know about it, but not to the degree that I would like pick up on a lot of stuff. So even as a casual, like very, very impressive, very cool. Like you were saying, the art and the soundtrack alone, I think would attract any anime fan, and like you would be impressed, especially like the last few episodes. Just like that finale was insane, especially the way like the art and animation kind of blend. Just really, really like the only way I can describe it is like 10 out of 10. You really do have to see it because you could sit there and like talk about it all day, but you got to see it to believe it. It really is that good.
And it is easy to talk about all day because like
Yeah.
it's so incredible. Like I don't know if I said it before, but like the next area we're gonna be going to is pretty much all confirmed. The same thing with Jinx still being alive and the reasons behind it. Like they pretty much told us again. What they did beautifully in this anime, which is also like insane, is they showed us. They didn't tell us with a lot of things, and a lot of it was Easter eggs and things that like you needed to know to know. But like instead of being like, oh, Jinx is alive, they showed us 5 different reasons of why we can believe that she's alive, and things that link back to episode 1. Like they're just like it's insane. It like there's so much. It's so easy to miss, especially because like I was talking to a friend about it. They're one of the people I bullied into watching it. They started watching like, oh my god, this is incredible. You know what I mean? And they're like, we're like, how do people see this stuff? Because we're just so emotional, just sitting there like, oh my god, this is incredible. Like, let's go. You know what I mean? How are you able to see those little details? Like, remember Jinx gets the rocket launcher, blows up the council room, right? And they're revisiting it again. That blonde guy who was paralyzed was there. And it was when Ekko and Jayce were talking about where Ekko's like, "Hey man, like you put this like the gate, right at this area where if it blows up, something goes wrong, the city, Piltover is safe. It's okay, it's fine." But you're pretty much tying it to the water lines of Zon. Like if it blows up, we're dead. Like, you're gonna wipe out an entire city. But thank God you guys are okay. And he's like, why is it that whenever it rains, Zon gets wet? Why is it that like you guys never deal with the consequences of your dipshit actions? And when they're saying that, that blonde guy's in that council room, and since it has a hole in the ceiling, it starts raining, and he starts getting rained on, and he's like in disbelief. He can't believe he's being rained on, symbolizing that for the first time ever, Piltover is actually gonna have to deal with the consequences of their actions. It's little things like that where it's just like, holy fuck, like it is just so good. I completely agree with you. I gotta go back and rewatch it, especially because like there's just so much stuff you miss, so much stuff you don't appreciate in the moment, but then you kind of go back and like, oh my god, like for me, the last 3 episodes were they weren't as good as I thought they were gonna be, and then it sunk in. And I was like, wow, wait, actually, they were incredible. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know. It just like it's a lot to take in. Like the last few episodes were a lot to take in. So it's like I want to just go back with a like fresh set of eyes and just rewatch it again and just like soak it all in because like there is just so much. I keep forgetting if I said it or not, but yeah, like the next region is confirmed, and like I'm gonna like get into it of like what is so exciting about it because like the next area really is going to be fucking incredible, and then you kind of realize like, oh wow, like yeah, Arcane was alright, because when you think about it, like Arcane was Jinx versus Vi, pretty much, right, and it ended up becoming Shimmer versus Hextech, and what really kind of made it exciting and made it a fight was Ambessa being involved. Ambessa did not exist until now. You know what I mean? Now she's a brand new champion in League and stuff like that. But she's the one that really kind of took that and made it entertaining more. But like that's the thing when you think about it, it's like very just basic. It's overground versus underground. Rich versus poor. You know what I mean? The rich can have this nice high tech, cool stuff, clean stuff, while the underground needs to use chemical, like tech. Chemtech, to really achieve it, and it's like really unstable and that, you know what I mean, and kind of have that clash. It's like a very like alright thing. So like if you take it and you use it with more modern, champions, because that's the thing. Like you even said, you're like, oh, I played this game ages ago and I recognize all these characters. Well, yeah, but they're like all kind of like day one characters. They've learned from that. League's been around for what 15 years. You know what I mean? They've had 15 years to like get better at designing characters, designing kind of lore for them, progressing this the world that League's in. You know what I mean? So in the future, I feel like it's just gonna get nothing but better because they've just improved on what they started from. This is where they started, and I think it goes to show just how good they were at creating Arcane. You know what I mean? They took something that was like a challenge. It was kind of like, hey, here's like the bare minimum, have fun, and they created an absolute masterpiece. So yeah, we gotta get into this. Arcane season 2 was absolutely phenomenal. Recommend it to a friend, but you probably already did. Let's be honest. But let's get into
Yeah.
Ambessa's manipulation and Kate turning evil. I thought that this was absolutely insane, and Bessa, just had an absolute masterclass in manipulation. The way that she came in, because if I guess we have to clarify this because my buddy I was trying to talk to him about it, he didn't understand this at all. And Bessa is against the Black Rose, right? They're fighting. Now the Black Rose is obviously very powerful. Something that wasn't talked about is the leader of the Black Rose is actually LeBlanc. She's the one who was there this entire time. Very cool champion. She runs the organization as well with this other champion, Vladimir. So they kind of run this organization. Now, I'm not going to get too much into it. We'll get into it at the end of this video, trust. But they need power. You know what I mean? So they get too carried away with power, right? Because that Ambessa doesn't like that. Now I don't necessarily know what Ambessa's kind of role is with Noxus, the place where she came from. But obviously, she's a very strong, determined leader. She doesn't let anyone stepping on her turf. Trying to manipulate her, use her, stuff like that. So obviously, she clashed with the Black Rose. She then goes to Piltover, where Mel is, and looks for the Hex Tech weapons. But she ends up seeing that they started developing that, and she's like, "This is what I could use to defeat the Black Rose." Because obviously, they're very, very strong. So that's why Ambessa was there. Ambessa was there to pretty much start a war so they can produce a ton of weapons. She takes the weapons and defeats the Black Rose. That was the whole start of it. That's what brought her there, which brought the Black Rose there, which started this whole thing. My buddy didn't get that, so I feel like I should explain it to help with people. So Ambessa did a great job. I mean, Mel, credit to her, saw right through it since like day one. She kind of knew who her mother was, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, yeah, I'm not falling for this. But everyone else did. Jayce got involved. I mean, absolutely got her finger, like, absolutely got Caitlyn wrapped around her finger. That was insane. That blonde bitch too, bro. What was up with that? I did not like that
Yeah,
girl
that
at
was
all,
crazy.
bro. Like when she died at the end, I was so hyped. I was like, yes, like
Very
finally,
satisfying.
like that is Vi's woman. You do not mess with her. Get out of here, bro.
Yeah, for sure. I think Ambessa really represents like kind of like greed in the sense of ambition. Like she has her own agenda, kind of like
Yeah,
focused on what's going on in Noxus, but she comes in as kind of like an ally. Like she wants to assist Piltover with this problem that they're having. It's the top versus the bottom. like you were saying, kind of like Piltover versus Zaun and like the haves versus the have-nots, and she really like leans into that, and I think that makes her a really good villain right away because she's coming off as an ally and like
Hmm.
kind of preying on Piltover's sense of like urgency and desperation. Like she kind of drums up more urgency than there really needs to be because other than Jinx and Silco and like a few other major players, it wasn't like the whole entirety of Zaun was fighting against them. It's really just Jinx. So like she kind of like took advantage of Caitlyn's a lack of experience, but also, her like her emotional state with her mother being killed in that council explosion. Caitlyn was like looking to make a statement, show the people of Piltover that she was like the new leader, she's strong, and that played exactly into Ambessa's hand, which like I thought was really well done. She was like a very likable character
Well, she
in the sense of
orchestrated
like a
that.
villain.
I don't know if you remember seeing that little brief scene, like an episode two or later. And Bessa was the one who orchestrated the memorial attack. She was actually the one that worked with the people of Zaun, like a couple of the mercenaries.
Yeah,
But you end up seeing her, like, all right, guys, hold off, let them do a little bit more damage. Wait, okay, now we go. Right, we got to do enough damage to like really kind of scar Caitlyn and to piss off the people of Piltover, so then we can sit here, then go behind that blonde councilman's back because he thought that he was gonna be announced the new commander. But then she's like, "Oh, I announced Caitlyn," and that's where the dude with the big beard just slammed him down. I was like, "Yes, it's still blood. Like you got played too." And then everyone's just kind of like, "Yeah, like Caitlyn, like let's go." And then Caitlyn gets put in this position of power. You're like, "Wow, like." She was like 9 steps ahead. She came there, saw that they had the tech, that she could use to defeat, the Black Rose, saw that they're in this vulnerable position, sat there and took a little, like, cut, like you were kind of saying. It really was just kind of like Jinx. You know what I mean? Other than that, Zaun didn't really want to mess with them too much. Like, Zaun was, like, just trying to survive and do their own thing. And she just ripped that fucker open. You know what I mean? She just knew how to apply that pressure, create an all-out war between Zaun and Piltover, end up getting Jayce and Viktor, who really didn't want to create any weapons with it at all. They didn't want any, military use. They were completely against it. Like, hey, we have to talk this out with them. I do not want this to be used for military to kill people. Like, no. To then Jayce being like, oh yeah, well, mass production. Let's go. You know what I mean? And then start the war, and then kind of get like everything she wanted. If it wasn't for Caitlyn, I mean, and Vi, they would have played right into her hand. She would have gotten everything.
I think like Jayce and Mel also kind of come around at the very end of the season, but a lot of that is like post, episode 1, 2, and 3. Like Ambessa gets her way, they make the weapons, and then Jayce kind of comes around and sees like what's going to happen, like what it can be, and kind of like the overall like destruction that Hex Tech can cause. And like obviously Mel goes through her own arc there at the end. But
Oh,
yeah,
that was so
Ambessa was
sick. Yo,
that was
Mel
really
becomes
cool.
a beast.
Yeah, and like they did a really good job of giving everybody like their own lane like that. Because I thought Mel was a cool character, and like the fact that she was able to stand up to Ambessa and like I don't know, she gets like that sleeve of runes that like fights against the Hex Tech. You got Caitlyn like sniping her, and she's like blocking it. She's like
Oh,
a really really good like warrior in the sense that she's always like a couple steps ahead, and like she had already game planned for all of this, so she knew what she was gonna do, and like still gets played because she's not really ready for what Mel becomes, which I thought was a really, really sweet way to kind of like wrap up her story. I thought that was really sick. But like, yeah, everything she did was like very calculated and like kind of pulled on like the heartstrings of all the people, especially in the middle of like such a, chaotic time for Piltover.
I do hope we get more backstory on that, more info on like who Mel is, because we know that Mel is the product of her affair, of Ambessa's affair. Right? She ended up cheating on her husband with somebody, and then a kid, was born, and we end up finding out that's Mel. And now, obviously, Mel's special. She's got these insane powers, so it's like, okay, like what, like who was the guy? How did this all happen? Was it done on purpose? Because Ambessa loves power. If she knew that she could have a kid that's the product, that just a weapon, you know what I mean? I should 100% do it. So it's like I
Oh
want
yeah,
I want to know more about that. I think that would be absolutely awesome. I think she made a deal with somebody, um, and there's links to her and other League of Legends champions. So there's a lot of speculation and a lot of conspiracy theories, which I absolutely love. But yeah, going then to Caitlyn turning evil. I mean, this was absolutely so cool because Caitlyn, the way that okay, what makes Arcane so sick, especially with their animation, is the expressions. And I talk about that in my other Arcane video. The way that they're able to emote was just so well, and they all went through some insane developments. You know what I mean? They all went on this absolute roller coaster of ups and downs. You know what I mean? And Caitlyn was no exception. We see her in season one where she's literally this like she's Jace's assistant. You know what I mean? She's just helping Jace out with like science shit, and she's just like, okay, like I just want to get away from my parents. You know, she has a best friend in Jace. You know, just helping him out, just kind of doing that. But then everything happens with Jace, and she ends up going, you know, to the military. Like she ends up kind of being one of the soldiers, and that's what she wanted to do, and she had to deal with backlash with that. But still, again, that just positive, bright, brilliant person. And then we kind of have her, you know, kind of like villain arc a little bit, where we have that amazing fight between Vi and Jinx, which was just awesome. But then, you know, we have that moment where like Jinx kind of gives up and was like, all right, you know, like if it's gonna be anybody, it should have been, it should be you. Like just do it. And then Isha, oh my god, Isha is one of my favorite characters in this anime. Like, just deserves the world. And bullshit ending, just tragic. But like,
See, I disagree. I disagree. I think that was good though, because like I don't know, it built up to that. It kind of like represents like all of Jinx's choices and like her. I don't want to say failure because she didn't fail for sure, but like I guess maybe consequences. You know what I mean?
I guess
But
I
yes,
get what you
very
mean.
tragic.
I guess I get
Definitely
what you
tragic.
mean. No, no, yeah, I get what you mean. Like, it's good that they did it because it hurts so much, but it hurts so much so I don't want them to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because like you're
exactly.
right, like Isha was like a mini Jinx. You know what I mean? She was like the younger version of Jinx. She like you know from Zaun. You know like pretty much an orphan. You know didn't have much. You know Jinx obviously had family, but Powder did. Um, and you know Jinx kind of just ends up taking her in, and then they end up just having like the best time. And that's where like it really starts too. Is that like Isha you know runs in between, gets like on top of Jinx to kind of like get her away. You know get Vi away, and that's when Kate's about to take a shot that can like pretty much kill a kid you know, in the crossfire. And it's like amazing. Like, it was like, how? How did you know you see that breakdown of Caitlyn with her mom's death and the memorial to now her about to like you know kill a child, but hey, at least I got Jinx too. You know what I mean? And then you have the clash between her and
Yeah.
Vi, and then she gets violent with Vi, you know, someone she apparently loves. You know what I mean? So you just really kind of see that like downfall in a way, but then we obviously get the redemption. But I just thought that that was such an out of left field thing that I never expected, and I was like, it's incredible. I'm so glad they had it.
I really liked like those dynamics. Like a lot of these issues that the characters have stem from like emotional shortcomings or like lack of communication or whatever you want to call it. Like
Mm-hmm.
just like a lack of therapy, if what you want to call it that. Like I feel like Vi is probably the catalyst of all of that. And like that's kind of her character. So
Mm-hmm.
it seems like she can't bring herself to like finish the job. And then you said like Caitlyn's like, all right, let's do this justice for my mom, justice for the people at Piltover. You got Jinx, like the main enemy, and then it's over. But like Vi can't bring herself, and she understands a little bit better than Caitlyn does because of the history, who Jinx is. Like she can't bring herself to like just put this to rest, which I
Well,
think
she also
complicates
couldn't
things.
because I mean, let's not forget Isha pulled a gun on her. Like Isha could have ended
Yeah,
Vi. You know what I mean? So it's not like Vi didn't like finish it. You know what I mean? Like I mean, she could have arrested her then and there, but like Isha got in the way of that. And then Vi was like, "Whoa, whoa, I'm agreeing. We have to deal with my sister." But like, there's levels, there's steps to this. We're not gonna kill a child in order to do it. You know, if we can arrest her, we arrest her. But we're not gonna put innocent lives at stake. When Caitlyn at that point was like, "I don't give a fuck what happens. I want to get like." She became that villain. That aspect of
just like
like
Ambessa, just
and
like Ambessa,
Jinx.
like her
Jinx had that arc
influence.
too, where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna get my
Yeah,
point across, and I don't care who gets hurt in the crossfire. You know what I mean? Kate
and
got dragged to that.
which drew like really good parallels between like Jinx and Silco, and then like even your good guys like Caitlyn and Vi kind of struggled with her own stuff, but like everybody kind of came up short or like wasn't always doing the right thing, and like at the end of the day, they all just wanted to win. They wanted to get what they wanted, and like at certain times they were ready to I don't want to say make mistakes, but like go all the way. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
whatever it took, which I thought was really cool because it kind of grazed that area between like bad guys and good guys. Like, is Silco really a villain? Like you get his backstory and all that stuff in season one. It's like just kind of a culmination of everybody's like actions and the stuff they go through. Like sure you can make, the case that she's the villain or whatever. Aisha's like helping the bad guy. Uh, but at the same time, that's all she knows. She's the good guy in her story. Jinx is the good guy. You know what I mean? Which I
yeah.
think makes for like very compelling and entertaining story writing.
I think that that's one of the insane things too. Is just how it's just how everyone processed it. Like you said, like some people got brought down to certain levels, and like Vi didn't like stray from her morals, but because of that, it caused a lot of self confusion where she ends up dyeing her hair black, gets into absolute fit, like just gets blacked out drunk and starts beating the shit out of people. You know what I mean? But she doesn't know how to like deal with her.
Yeah.
Like her self image became messed up because of that. But like the only person who I guess stayed pure or good was Ekko, my boy Ekko. Dude, what a season 2 baller, bro. Someone who just absolutely shined this season. It was absolutely awesome. But like, yeah, you're absolutely right, and it was just it was just crazy. I just really liked that, and it made it more entertaining too. Because at the end there, you don't know, is Kate gonna turn back, or is this it? Because she like nearly again like shot a child. She went down that dark path. She thought of Zon, the people of Zon, as like animals. He's like, how can people do this? You know what I mean? So like you wouldn't expect it. Like I feel like that was a nice twist that she ended up working with Vi, and it's like, oh, she came back. You know what I mean? Like it's a roller coaster. It's not just good or bad. She ended up having her moment, came down a little bit, but then she ended up, realizing the right thing, doing the right thing, and yeah, it paid off.
Yeah, it definitely came full circle that way, which was nice and like feels like it's complete. You know what I mean? You get
Yeah.
like a full story out of it rather than just like a bunch of random action. So yeah, I definitely like that.
Yeah, Caitlyn was an absolute awesome commander. That was sick. I love that design as well. When she had the big coat, like, dude, she just looked like an absolute badass. But then going
Yeah.
on from that, Jinx and Savika breaking everyone out of prison. Jinx finally comes to her senses. Savika's like, hey, listen, people in a rally behind you. They look at you as a hero now. Just come to the rally. You know what I mean? She doesn't go, but Isha does. Isha again, fucking badass. You have that dude with the beard. I don't know his name, but really good warrior. Isha just jumps out of like off of a building onto him and starts bashing his head in. It's like, yo, whose
Yeah.
kid is this? She's fucking awesome. Like she's so cool. But she ends up getting abducted, singed. Ends up getting arrested too, and that's where he starts bleeding to attract Warwick, and that created one of the greatest like mini arcs of this series because Singe really gets brought in as Singe, right? Warwick gets brought into the equation. Isha just has her moments where it's like they had that like yeah, it was good times together with like the Beatles battling. Jinx goes to save her and she's like they have their moment. Warwick comes in and completely messes everybody up. We end up finding out that Warwick's Vander, which is such an amazing twist. I know people were upset with
Really
Warwick's
good.
design because he has a more like wolf-like design in the game, but I thought that was such a cool thing. Again, some very funny moments with Jinx getting made fun of her pants, but also flipping off that guy. I saw a clip of it, and someone made a great comment where they're like, "I love how Jinx lost her middle finger." And it was like a sad thing, right? It was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe she lost like a part of her." But now it becomes an ongoing running joke throughout the rest of the series, where now she has this robotic one, and the guy's like, "Hey, like, how you doing?" And she's like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, that was awesome.
Like,
Really
dude,
good.
that's why I love Jinx. Like, she's just so fun and just so cool. And like that whole little like break out of prison arc was just awesome. I thought it was just so cool. I loved seeing Jinx and Savika get along. I thought Savika was actually a really cool character, and again, her roller coaster of just being, Silco's little lapdog, doing whatever he wants, kind of, being like angsty, in a way. She kind of wants to go after Piltover all the time, but after everything kind of like crumbled and fell apart, she kind of becomes, old in her wisdom. You know what I mean? She becomes a little bit more like, all right, I don't want to fight everybody. Like, let's just do this. You know what I mean? Like, let's just fix what we broke. So, her and Jinx kind of like, reuniting and kind of like finding that friendship with Silco missing, well, being dead, I thought was just fucking awesome. I thought that whole little mini arc was just absolutely incredible. And it was one of the most, it was hilarious, incredible action, and then just the most what the fuck twists ever. It was amazing.
It was really good, and I think that sets us up for like how good Savika's like arc is by the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like seeing her kind of like in the last episode really I think hit home and kind of like brought her full circle because she was a great character and like it's easy to hate her in the beginning, yeah, because she's Silco's lapdog, but like everything we kind of go through with her and with Jinx and the whole prison arc and kind of like the war at the end really makes you appreciate her and like she kind of feels like one of the OG characters of the story, like from season one and stuff. So it's nice to kind of see her come full circle. And I think that prison arc was a really good way to kind of like, get her over to the other side. Like she was kind of coming into her own as a character. And, her working with Jinx, I think was a perfect way to set up the ending of that season for
Well,
her.
it's also really cool because like she's an interesting character because if you know, you know. We talked about Arcane in the beginning, Piltover Zone, all these characters. They're like day one kind of characters. Well, like they did an amazing job with all this. There's actually a lot they didn't add. So Blitzcrank is a champion from Zon, was not added. Same thing with Ziri, but also a character named Renata Glass, who actually looks a lot like Savika. Like a lot like Savika. Apparently, Renata Glass was. I think they designed her character while Arcane was started production already, so they couldn't just write her in. But like she has the same kind of look, missing arm, except she's like the bougie business person version of her. Like not from Piltover, still from Zon, but she was a part of that table. Remember how he had the group of like all like the mobsters, pretty much all the heads. She was a
Yeah.
part of that, and she had like a suit, and like her prosthetic arm was like a lot like fancier and cooler, and that's why Savika was such an interesting character because people thought that Savika would turn into her, but they're like, nah, we're just gonna leave them as separate characters. We're not gonna like cheat on that because we didn't write her as Renata Glass. Renata Glass came after, so she's just not gonna be in it. So that made Savika like pretty fascinating because like you have that kind of like that kind of like parallel in a way, but also I think that just kind of like made them want to add more to Savika. You know what I mean? Just kind of give her a little bit more to the story because there's that possibility of if she could be, if she is, like if she is, if she isn't type thing. So like I don't know, I really like that about Savika, like trying to figure out like, oh, is she actually Renata Glass? Like what's going on here? You know what I mean? But turns out she wasn't.
Even as somebody who doesn't like know that, like I still think she was a really well written character, well written character. Like she fits in the story really well, and I think they did a good job of like giving us a lot. There's a lot of different there's a lot of different storylines, like especially leading into the beginning of season two, and then they start us off with kind of that episode of Ekko and Jinx and like what could have been. So like it feels like it could almost get messy, but I feel like there was the perfect amount. Like it wasn't too much as like a casual fan to like
Mm-hmm.
retain or like learn who these people were. And I think that's another like really important thing. Because like whenever I talk about like One Piece or something, I mean you have over 1,000 episodes. You have literally decades of anime and characters and information and story. Like it's really hard to like explain an arc to somebody without referencing, oh well they're here because and like they were there because so and so character. Like it's easy to get like too big, and I feel like Arcane did a perfect job of like just giving you the perfect amount to like enjoy and like not go crazy with, even if you were just like a casual and didn't know who these characters were.
Yeah, exactly, and again, it just kind of makes it entertaining. It makes it interesting. It makes it like what's gonna happen. It put a lot of mystery in the air. Whether you were watching it and didn't know anything about League of Legends, or if you did and you play League and you know the champions and you know some of the lore and you're like. Kind of what to look for, but they were still able to get you because Arcane didn't follow the League of Legends lore like one for one, and it actually kind of reinvented it. Like apparently Arcane is canon, like that is the canon. So if it's in Arcane, it's real. Some of it was different from what they ended up making. So yeah, a lot of it was just really cool, and I think they did a great job. Yeah, so Savika is definitely an awesome character. Again, I love her development. I mean, it's insane that they did that so well with like so many different characters. You know what I mean? The characters weren't just so two dimensional and just like straightforward. They had this change. In multiple changes throughout, not just like good to bad or bad to good. But like having those moments of like up and down. It was awesome. But that also leads us then to Jinx, Vi, and Warwick. Some of the then greatest follow up from that. I mean, those moments were just so cool, so wholesome. Jinx and Vi getting together again, you know what I mean? And talking again. You had some of the best moments with Isha and just like how sweet she is and how her relationship with Jinx was just so like so nice. You know what I mean? Just how much Jinx meant to Isha and vice versa. And I think Vice saw a lot of that because when they were looking, they went looking for Warwick, right? And there's a lot of those moments where like it was weird for Vi because Vi ends up seeing Jinx be like an older sister, And then I think Vi also felt bad about it because there's all those moments where like Jinx was being like very like wholesome to Isha, like Jinx and Vi get into another fight, beating the hell out of each other, and of course our absolute mad dog, that's Isha, and needs to jump in. Isha loves that combat, so Isha jumps in, gets on Vi, and Vi like smacks her out of the way, right? But she fucking bit her, like, bro,
Yeah.
fucking Isha don't give a fuck. But like you see Jinx just like very caringly go over and be like, hey, like you good? Are your insides still there? Like, all right, cool. Like you're all right. Like wipe it out, and she's like wiping her bloody nose. And you see there's just like every time there's those interactions, Vi has this expression where she doesn't know kind of how to act. She kind of sits there and is like, I think she feels bad because she's like, this is the person I needed to be for Jinx. Because there's a lot of the parallels where like Isha is like Powder. You know what I mean? Like Isha's a mix of Powder and Jinx, a mix of the two. And like you just see the way that like Jinx is with her and just there for her and just what she needed. And I think Vi did not handle where it was like, I should have done that. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, it was Vi that pushes Jinx into Silco's lap pretty much, where she's like, hey, you take her. Like she completely like I don't know like how to explain it because we talked about how like yeah, Silco is not like necessarily like, a bad guy. We saw that he was like best friends with Evander and stuff, and like at the end of the day, like Powder was sitting there with absolutely no one, just absolutely crushed after the warehouse blew up. And was like, hey, like I'll take you in. Like I know how this feels. Like
It was
come with
definitely
me.
Vi's fault too. Like that was
Yeah.
100% like a product of Vi's
Mm-hmm.
immaturity and like inability to process what happened. It's like her seeing like that relationship between Jinx and Aisha, I think kind of humbles her a little bit, but it also like grows Jinx up and like gives her like a sense of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of like in a way is like a bad thing for Jinx, who like Jinx is trying to be this like rebel anti-hero type character. Because now you have somebody who looks up to you and when she kind of admires the stunt she pulls at like the memorial, but at the same time like it kind of sets in like, oh, she's doing this because of me. So like it's kind of a cool like duality that Jinx is who she is, but at the same time like seeing somebody else imitate her, I think kind of like changes her opinion or like maybe confuses her. I won't say like she strays from who she is, but like confuses her about like what's right and wrong and like am I doing the right thing? Am I helping the right people? Because she sees like how it impacts Vi and Caitlyn too, and
Mm-hmm.
she like resents Caitlyn in the beginning, but not at the end. She doesn't stay that way.
Well, because again, like yeah, like Jinx resents her because like again she's very childish, very immature, and like you're right, like Isha made her grow up, made her be the older, more responsible person, needs to look after somebody, and then she gets it. You know what I mean? And now she's not getting upset that someone stole my big sister. She's like, hey, like I get it. Like you have people in your life. Like I see how Caitlyn's a positive influence. Like I get it now. I'm not just immature little kid that just needs attention, needs like all this stuff. So like I think Isha was massive for Jinx's like character development, and yeah, when Isha died, I mean, one of the fucking greatest like most emotional scenes. I mean, Isha's death scene was absolutely incredible. The way that like Jinx gets hit, she's on the ground, and then Isha comes in. They have the song playing. Depressing as fuck. You have like the different art style, like this little cinematics. She's running through, and I saw her the second she did it too. Like, yeah, I don't know if you guys caught it, but like when they're at Viktor's camp or whatever, you see her go and grab the two blue balls, and you see them put them in her pocket. So it's like I
Yeah.
was like, oh, dude, what's gonna happen? And then you see her put them in the gun, and then just she goes the pew, like, bro, that scene where she's just like, pew, like I was just like, no, bro, don't do it. And then she just goes back and just like, it's like, dude, like just so emotional. But if you're gonna have a death scene, that is the greatest one to have. You did it perfectly. You know what I mean? Like just so emotional and so impactful. But like, yeah, you had that, but you also had like, and I think that also hits the hardest because things were so good before that happened. You know what I mean? Because we're talking about Vi, Jinx, and
Yeah.
Warwick. Like when they kind of got to the camp, like well, first of all, when they find Warwick, the hug too. Vi finally believes in Jinx, and Vi's like he's like wait no, like that's our dad. And then you see she stops fighting Warwick, and then that's when they're embracing. And then Vi hits her with the like, come on, like he's your dad too. And they all and then Isha of course comes from behind like, yeah, I'm not part of this. Like Bro, I'm telling you, bro, he's just my favorite. But like such sweet, like wholesome moments with that. When they get to Viktor's camp, just the way they all kind of get along and like are there for each other. It just felt like season one, episode one again. And it was just like, damn, and it just hit hard. And then tragedy just follows that. Like that was the
It
last
kind
good
of
moments.
Yeah, it definitely felt like that was like the last time things were going to be normal. But like it
Yeah.
didn't feel normal because I knew like kind of the whole setup with Viktor was like unnatural, and like Jayce was not cool with like what he saw in the Arcane. So like even though it felt good and it was like kind of nice to see them come back together one last time, I knew that that was just like preceding something crazy. And like yeah, obviously the events that follow are outrageous, but like it
Mm,
just kind of like warms you up to I should sacrifice too. I think it makes it hit a little harder when you kind of see like yeah, like the like Vi, Vander, and Jinx all kind of come back together, but now you have somebody else. You know what I mean? Like your family's grown, like your connections grow, and like they could appreciate it for even just a moment. I think was really really cool. But as like even like watching that last episode when Vi's looking at Vander, I'm like, no, there's been too many like sudden twists and stuff. I was like, there's no way.
yeah.
And like, yeah, obviously it's just it goes off the rails pretty much from there out.
Yeah, it's insane, and it was done so well. Like, actually, we should skip talking about Singed until the end. We should talk about him now, but now we're perfectly set up to now talk about like Viktor and stuff. But like, yeah, those moments were like, and Warwick seemed like he was just getting help too, like Vander, and like they actually didn't say
Yeah.
that. Like, yeah, Vander, his wolf form is actually Warwick. They actually never said that once. They never gave him that name, which was pretty interesting.
The only reason I knew is because I left the subtitles on for some reason.
Yeah.
Um,
Wait, they have it in the
and
subtitles?
yeah, like one of the scenes where he's like charging or like grunting or something, it literally says Warwick and then just like grunts or whatever. And I'm like, oh shit, that's Warwick. Like I figured Vander would be like a key player, but that's the only reason I knew because nobody addresses him as Warwick.
And that's a common thing where again they show never tell. You know what I mean? They don't need to tell you it's
Yeah.
Warwick. We're gonna show you it's Warwick, yeah, and that makes it so fucking cool as someone who like would understand some of the stuff. But like if you don't know anything, like you missed out on so much. And again, like with Singe, that's like a huge thing where you miss out on a lot of stuff with that. So like,
Dude,
yeah,
and
that
even Singe, well, yeah, well, we'll talk about Singe at the end.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's push
Getting
to
a little
that.
ahead here.
Let's
Yeah.
push to at the end. When we got to the camp, though, I want to say this before we move on from Jinx Vi Warwick, because like, dude, seeing them again was just like so wholesome. Hello, thank you. Uh, it was just like so nice and just kind of like, hey, even though it just made you feel warm. You know what I mean? You're just like awesome, and then he just of course took it all away, and depression till 2027. Thank you. Um, but like Viktor saying that to Jinx, which is like, hey, like you'd be useful here. Like we could really use someone who's good at building and creating. Like we instead of like using it for destruction, like you can create here. She's like, yeah, no, I'll stick with things I'm good at. Like, dude, I actually like really like that from Viktor. Like him kind of saying like that, like, hey, like Jinx, like I believe in you. Like I see something in you. Like people like see destruction, like you're this big bad monster, but I see someone who's actually incredibly intelligent because like Viktor and Jayce took how long and with all the lab stuff to like stabilize hex tech, like that kind of stuff, like to stabilize that stuff, like the arcane and stuff. Jinx did that in her little layer. You know what I mean? With looking at like some like bait, like some notes, and she was able to like figure it out. Like Jinx is a genius. She's incredibly intelligent, and again, it's one of the things that they're going to tell you, not really to show you, but like Viktor kind of saying, okay, like I know that you can do a shit ton of good if someone actually like believed in you, was actually like a really nice thing, even though that's not like Jinx's kind of character, and that's why she denies it and kind of like she declines and just kind of moves on. I thought that was a really sweet moment. Like the whole thing with even though the hive mind community was fucking weird,
Yeah.
it did have some really really sweet moments. But
I thought that was
yeah,
uh, that was like my favorite storyline in Arcane. The whole like thing with Viktor and Jayce and kind of like how their paths diverge and like the mentalities they take, especially in season two. I thought that shit was awesome. And it's very like applicable, I think, in a way. Like everybody comes looking to Viktor, for like a cure. The minute those people in the fissure see
mm-hmm.
like, a hero or somebody who's like looking after them, they immediately like come together and like unify for him, but all for the wrong reasons. And even Viktor kind of goes down a path that's like a little bit selfish or self-serving and stuff. And I thought like his
Brainwashed. He seemed a little brainwashed. Like it wasn't necessarily him. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's true. And, like the scene where like his face literally like opens up, it's like really badass. But like whatever he's possessed by, you could just call it the Arcane, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
was really really cool. And like seeing how him and Jayce kind of go at it, and how Ekko fits in, and even Jinx in a way, like they all kind of feed off of that dynamic in their original research and relationship, and make it work for what works for them. And I thought that was probably my favorite part, or like storyline in Arcane.
Yeah, like it was actually crazy. Like that all started too with the Jayce and Viktor breakup, which I was devastated about. Like when Viktor kind of came out of that like jail kind of like I don't know capsule, let's call it, and he was like this whole different thing. Jayce was so excited, like, oh my god, my brother's back, like let's go. And then just like the breakup, and he was kind of just like, like our paths diverged, long ago. Like it's time for us to move on. It was like, dude, like that was soul crushing. But to be fair, they spoiled that since season one. When they brought up Singed, and Singe was also from Zon. Well, also like in Zon, and that's where Viktor met him when he was a kid. And they knew he'd be back, and he ends up going back to Zon. Because Viktor was a Zon kid. You know what I mean? We saw flashbacks of him playing with his boat. And then he ends up getting in, going over to Piltover. Getting into the academy, stuff like that. So him kind of going back home, really what it was kind of inevitable, and we've really got that teased and kind of like foreshadowing about when we started having those flashbacks and like knowing that, like all the way back in season one. So that breakup, it was inevitable, but man, did it hurt. You know what I mean? Like that was something where I was just like, no, like, bro, they're boys. That's what made. We're not gonna talk about it now, but that's what made the reunion and the ending between them just so fucking good. Just so good.
Yeah, just another like really good job of them like tying that storyline together.
Mm-hmm. Um, but yeah, so I thought that was absolutely insane. And then you have Jayce meeting Ekko, and again, we had what we talked about before. Ekko talking about like, hey, like, why is it that Piltover never thinks us on and just kind of like fucks us over constantly? Heimer's back. That interaction was so funny when Heimer is there with Ekko. They break into Jayce's lab. He's like, the fuck you guys breaking in here for? He's like, oh, they'll tell you never broke in here. Like, get out of here, bro. Like, you're sleeping in here. Don't act like you're better than me. And he's like, oh, let me introduce you. Ekko, this is Jayce, my former student, and Jayce, this is Ekko, my current student. And they look at each other and they're like, huh, like sizing each other up, like,
yeah.
Like Jayce is like, this is the new guy. This is your new girl, huh? This is who you're seeing now. And Ekko's like, oh, this is my predecessor. Okay, you know what I mean? That will size up. So funny, just such a
Really
good little thing to add. That was just like, yes, it just especially because in that moment there was a lot of like intensity, a lot of like build up to have that little bit of a comic relief. It was just like, I love it. I'm all for it.
Yeah, dude, Heimer played such a good part in season two. Like some of those moments were really good. I think for building both of their characters, especially Ekko though.
Do you think Heimer's dead?
Yeah, I do. Like I don't know. I feel like a part of me thinks that like a lot of the speculation, like those characters are dead, or like at least removed from the story. Like I feel like there's a lot of stuff that could happen that we kind of saw. Like even Viktor talks about it, of all the possible timelines and all the possible people it could have been. It could only be you to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like so, part of me feels like yes. Like some of those characters are dead.
I think like we'll have to go into it one by one, but I do think Heimer is dead. I just think that they did it in such an abrupt way where if you blinked, you missed it. You know what I mean? It wasn't like an emotional scene at all. It was just these poof.
Right when like Ekko figures out they can like go back in time like real briefly and they test the limits, Heimerdinger explodes at four seconds, I think it is.
Yeah.
So that to me, and he like looks back and he's like, yeah, you don't want to know what I just saw. Like that for me was like the foreshadowing of like him dying.
Bro, like Loki, that's so funny though, because like it's like, oh my god, that just happened. But then Heimer's like, yo, so how long is we gonna do? He's like 4 seconds. He's like, are you sure? Like, how do you know? He's like, I know. You don't want to know. I know.
Trust me. I saw it. Yeah.
If those of you who don't know, Ekko in his kit in the game actually can reverse time. So this was something everyone's waited for since the bridge scene between Ekko and Jinx all the way in season 1, that fight. Because in Ekko, he walks up and he's, playing with the stopwatch. And everyone's like, can he reverse time right now? Because that's what everyone was kind of waiting for and looking for. So everyone's kind of looking to see, okay, is he actually going to be able to get that power? Because all the weapons that they use are weapons used in game. Jinx actually has 2 weapons. You can swap between her rocket launcher and her minigun. 2 weapons that she used a lot in the show that were like
Yeah.
very like infamous. So like having their like abilities, also being in the show was sick, but like that's what people have been waiting for since day one, is if Ekko's gonna be able to reverse time and what limit it's gonna have, because it would kind of break the storyline. Once you can go back in time and undo shit, it kind of ruins everything. You know what I mean? Nothing really matters anymore. So the fact that they did the 3 second limit, did that kind of scene, was pretty crazy. But you're right, that does kind of like then foreshadow, this was gonna kill Heimer. And the way it was done was, it was done right. You know what I mean? Heimer's not like a
Yeah.
massive character. You don't need a massive emotional, scene for each. But like, it was done the way that it was going to happen. They were working on science shit. He jumps out last second. He's like, all right, I got to do this, knowing that it was going to probably take his life. And, then it happens, and Ekko's able to go back and, save the day, be the hero. So it was insane. It was just one of those things where, like, it was just so, like, it was like, wait, did he just die? Like, what just happened? He just fucking poof. He's nowhere. And it was just kind of like crazy. I can't believe they did it that quick.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so good. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
very direct, like very intentional, and it felt like these are like the consequences of everything that's been happening, especially like related to Hex Tech. I feel like that's kind of the focal point of the end of season two. Like just kind of the aftermath, if you will, of like what happens, the weapons and all that stuff. And that's like kind of the first, maybe not the first, but like at least for Ekko, like he sees it, it's tangible, and like he understands like how dangerous this magic or arcane or whatever you want to call it can be.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, that was crazy. How did we completely just skipped a whole bunch of shit because we just kept going with it.
I know, dude. There's so
We
much,
just
like,
kept going.
especially in season two, like all the like plot points they write up from season one. Like, I definitely need to go watch it again. Like, there's just so much, and like, I feel like I did miss stuff, just like not, just like focusing on the plot and like the dialogue and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you go back and you see scenes differently. Like, definitely need to do that for season two.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we were talking about like Jason Victor's breakup to then, Heimer dying. It was just like, dude, this anime, it's just so good. There's so much to talk about. It's so difficult to like focus. You know what I mean?
I know, and like, there's so many different like plot lines and like things going on. It's so easy to just like, yeah, go from like A to B to D to E,
Because
very,
it was
very
all
all over the
amazing.
place. Yeah, and like it feels all over the place, but by the end of it, they tie it together so perfectly.
Oh my god, yeah, it was insane. Like, okay, we've already talked about Viktor's Hivemind. Let's do a little, like, 1, 2 little things on that because there's not much to really go into that we already haven't, and then we can continue with going into where Jayce was and where Heimer and Ekko were when they got sucked into the Arcane. So Viktor's Hivemind, which is so creepy. Like, I got bad vibes the second I saw it. Like the way that I actually, okay, little things we missed. Remember the council guy, the blonde guy, how he got turned into whatever that thing is because Viktor,
Yeah,
saved them. Something that they made very clear is that when you're in that room where the gate is, it's very very cold. You can see Jace's breath. You can see Ekko and Heimer's breath when they're in there. You couldn't see that guy's, and that was the indication that he wasn't alive. So whatever,
yeah, that's a really good point.
there's
Yeah,
little details. I didn't even notice that. I didn't notice that you can't see his breath, and they really exaggerated it with Jason's because he's really heavy breathing. He's got the hair. I was focused on the hair. I'm like, bro, look, he's looking pretty like sick.
yeah,
He's
pretty,
looking,
pretty grisly.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's got like the grizzly. Like I like this Jace kind of better. I'm not gonna lie.
right. Yeah, dude, for sure.
Yeah, fuck the prim proper, but like he's got like the real heavy breath, and for the other dude, you just don't see it at all. So like that indicates that like yeah, they're actually not alive. Whatever the fuck he's doing to them, like they're not human anymore. And then you kind of go back and you see everybody. Whenever anyone acts like kind and nice like that. It just gives you the heebie-jeebies. Like, no, 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 no. I don't know if it's
Yes.
because my people are assholes or what, and that's just what I'm more comfortable with. Like, you start being creepy and like that, like, this is a cult and this is weird, right? Stop with this hi, hello shit, leave your weapons at the door type shit. Like, that's red flag number one.
Yes, especially given the climate of everything. It felt very like cultish and like yeah,
Mm.
just off-putting in a way.
And then I love how Viktor's the leader of this fucking cult. Like, this hive mind is like, yeah, it makes sense, bud.
Especially with like Sky getting sucked into the hex tech or the I forget what they called it, the rune. Like
Yeah, I felt so
it just
bad.
kind of felt like he was destined to go down that path of like looking for something greater because he didn't really have any direction. He was just trying to like buy more time or like cure his illness or whatever his ailments were to like buy more time to study this thing further.
Mm.
But he didn't have like a solid goal in mind. So I think that was kind of like the culmination of all of that.
Yeah, and then again at this like cult place where we end up finding out because a lot of things hit the fan, like shit hits the fan there where it's like everything's good and we were talking about like everything's nice, great, wholesome, like oh look at this, the family's back together, and then yeah, shit just hits the fan where Jayce kills Viktor, which was absolutely insane. Um, then everyone goes down. You're like, okay, yeah, it's definitely a hive mind. Definitely something's up with this, and that's when we get more into the arcane and into kind of like what's going on. And even then, I feel like we still have 1,000,005 questions. Something that like I don't know anything about, but everyone talks about the void. Anyone who knows League of Legends or League of Legends lore, talks about the void. I don't know what it is. I think it's linked with the arcane, but it just goes to show that there is so much more to this world than we know of. Like I was talking to a friend about it. I feel like with Arcane, we've gotten 5% of like the whole story. You know what I mean? I feel like we
Yeah,
have a million things still undiscovered, untalked about. You know what I mean? Like again, I look at this as if it's going to be the next Marvel, as if we just got Iron Man 1. That's what I look at Arcane as, where it's like, this is fucking awesome, but we're about to have 20 years of holy shit. Although they're doing it right. We had years before season 1 and season 2, so I don't think we're going to be getting a new show, a new, project, new season every single year, so it might even, like, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I hope they go the distance with it because they do a phenomenal job. They have the fan base and they have the material to create one of the greatest things created. I'm just being genuine with that. Like if they can take what they did in Arcane and do it with all the other regions, like what's going to beat that? Like it's just so perfect. They do it. They do such an amazing job. They know what they're doing.
dude, hell yeah. I mean, you have like every resource, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Time, money, staff, like they could definitely make it happen. And I think the biggest thing is like a couple of animes that have ended recently, like you think of like My Hero or Jujutsu Kaisen. Um, and there's a couple others like the endings felt forced or rushed or people didn't like them or whatever. Like they're taking the time to make sure things are like playing out the way they wanted to. It's well written. And it definitely shows too. And I think that's why people are so into it and it's become such a success.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to be getting more into the ending, later on. But also going back to, Jayce killing Viktor and how that was an absolute shock and like, holy fuck, he actually did that. But also, when they attacked Warwick, I love that Warwick killed that dude with the beard. I don't know what it was about him, but I'm like, seeing him
Yeah.
die, I was like, fuck yeah, Warwick! When he
He just
fucking.
like knew like his intentions and Ambessa, they were like completely selfish. They were never
Yeah.
really trying to help anybody. So like I was very glad a lot of them got
And
their
it's the way it
justice.
happened, too. He goes to kill Jinx, and Warwick steps in and was like, don't touch my daughter. And then just fucks
Yeah.
him up. It's like, that a boy, Vander. That a boy. It's not about the size of the dog in the fight, but about the size of the fight in the dog. Like, there we fucking go, baby. Dude, I was fucking losing it at like 3 a.m. I was going ballistic. I was like, this is the greatest shit ever. Dude, I was all for it, dude. I loved Warwick and like Vander. I never thought I would love them so much.
Yeah, and that's like a perfect example of like and even though they never addressed him as Warwick, like
Mm-hmm.
I literally learned about it from the subtitles being left on. But like it really makes you like appreciate that character in a different way and like, oh, maybe I'll check that out. So like good job on Riot of like kind of tying that in together. Kind of like you were saying with how Piltover and Zon weren't really like the most, exciting region to take on. Or it was a challenge.
Okay. I say it in a bad way, but here's the thing. I'm going to explain the next region at the end of this video, and you're going to be like, okay, like, Okay, like they're not gonna have to like use magic per se to make the next series fucking incredible. You know what I mean? Like it's not that this was boring. It's just that when you start talking about other champions in other regions and what's going on in the rest of the world of League of Legends, like you're kind of like holy shit. Like this is something that like is something we're gonna look back on that. Yep, this is the start. You know, this is the start of one of the greatest things
Yeah,
created because like I don't know. We're gonna get into it. I can't explain it until I explain it. You know what I mean? But like,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
beyond excited. So yeah, that whole thing with Warwick was absolutely incredible. I say we just kind of get into now where Jayce was and where Ekko was and Heimer. You know, when they were in the Arcane. You know, I mean, dude, we've been here for like an hour already. It's insane, and we're about to go on. We're halfway through. Like this anime just fucking dominated, and the way that they did this to this part was so fucking cool. The memes that were funny. I don't know if you saw them, where it was like Ekko, you know, in the Arcane, and it was like walking through like a little flower field, like oh nice,
Yeah,
like let's go, you know, Ekko in the nice suit, him and Jinx, you know, having their little time, right? And then you have Jayce, and it's like him falling down a mountainside of cactuses, and it's just like you know, just nothing but pain and torture, and just like it's like yeah, like low key, that's what kind of happened. Like Jayce kind of got fucked over.
well, and I think he sees like, it kind of splits them down two different paths. Like what
Mm-hmm.
could have been in a perfect world where there's no hex tech, everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to worry about all this craziness and chaos going around. And Jinx is never a thing. Jinx never happens because Powder just kind of grows up to be who she's supposed to be.
And it's
Or
crazy how Vi was dead in that timeline, right?
yeah, Vi's dead. She
Very
dies.
interesting that she's the one that dies and everything kind of goes right.
I actually like that. I actually like that Vi died because I felt like her inability to process her emotions. This is me like really grinding her up, but like Vi's like inability to make decisive decisions based off of her emotions cost a lot of people either like trauma or issues or loss in general. And it starts from like the very beginning with her and Powder. Like Vi's always kind of like emotionally unstable, and she stays that way pretty much the whole story. So like with her out of the picture, everything basically plays out the way you would think. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a perfect scenario, and like Ekko and Jinx get really close. But Jay sees the opposite of that. He sees kind of like in reality what Hex Tech is moving towards, and like they mention it a couple times. Like I don't know if he's in the void or whatever, but like just a never-ending cycle of like creation and destruction that basically consumes itself, and that's what I felt like Jayce kind of saw.
Well, Jay saw the future. He saw what happened because of them creating Hextech. Like he saw the ending pretty much. If they weren't able to stop
Yeah,
Viktor, that was the ending. That was what was going to happen. But going back and staying on to the Ekko and then going to come to Jay's because there's so much from both sides. It wasn't just Vi. Also, Vander and Silco never beefed. They never had that argument. But Silco was still in that. They were
yeah.
still friends. That was a huge thing that them breaking up created a whole bunch of problems. But I think when it comes to Vi, like what you were saying, I think it's more though she was just in the middle of the fence. You know what I mean? She wasn't playing to one side or the other because one of the things that she did that was like it's kind of annoying because my sister does it is that like Vi sat there and didn't say shit to Caitlyn, right? Like, oh, we're gonna go look for Jinx. Vi knows it's her sister, doesn't say shit to Caitlyn. She finally gets there, and then Caitlyn's like, "Oh wait, Jinx is your sister? Like you didn't say this, bud." You know what I mean? She's like, "Oh yeah, like don't worry about it, right?" She's playing that middle side where she's trying to appease Caitlyn and also trying to get her sister. You know what I mean? She's trying to get both, right? And because of that, it causes these problems. It causes these confrontations where then you have that scene, and that's where shit hit the fan and became problematic. Because now Jinx is like, oh, like, are you leaving me for her? Like, are you on their side? Like, what the fuck's this about? Like, you know what I mean? Like, she went about it wrong, but she couldn't pick one. You know what I mean? She wanted everything, and she wanted everyone to be happy, and she wanted, you know what I mean? She couldn't like, uh, yeah, she just couldn't pick. You kind of say that multiple
She couldn't
times.
I feel like she could just face reality. Even at the end too, the
Yeah.
scene where they're on that like ledge that's breaking, she like goes to like cry on Vander, even though he's like not just like changed scientifically and like all the shit that he went through with Singed and the Shimmer, and now he's got this like possession hive mind thing from Viktor. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not Vander, and she just can't really accept that and like act And I think, yeah, obviously that causes the literally at the end, kind of what happens with Jinx. And like, I don't know, I feel like that was kind of for me Vi's character through and through. Just
She
yeah,
can't
very middle of
make
the
that
road
decision.
and
Yeah.
can't pick a side, and like that ends up causing both sides more frustration and pain.
And it's tough, and Vi's not perfect. No one in this anime is perfect, except maybe Ekko. I
Yeah,
mean, Ekko, fucking, that boy was
Echo's kind of the
shiny.
man.
Ekko is shiny from fucking episode 1 to the last episode. My boy did nothing wrong and did nothing but just like, also his drip. I mean, like, bro is just kind of a beast through and through. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like also like the Firefly Echo, like when he had that like mask on, he's on the board. Like when that first scene when you don't know it's him and he's coming out and he's got the stopwatch and he's playing with that as he's coming out of the top. Like dude, like Echo just won. Echo's the only person in Arcane that fucking won. Like you know what I mean?
true that.
Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, like her not being able to pick side was a huge thing. And I thought it was weird because again, I love how like we've talked about like so many different things about this, Ekko going into it, except for actually talking about that episode of Ekko in the Arcane. Again, there are so many fucking things to talk about with this anime. It's perfect. But yeah, Ekko kind of going back and kind of seeing that in his relationship with Powder this time around was super interesting to see. Everything that kind of transpired with that. There was a lot of similarity. Like, so you remember how they have that dance and Jinx walks out and you see her feet and it shows that first and then it goes up and shows the
yeah.
rest of Jinx. Um, that is actually like the same shot of when she fought Ekko on the bridge. When on the bridge, when
Oh
Jinx
shit.
comes out, it starts up with her feet and it just shows her walk and it kind of moves up and it has a lot of similarities. They're like looking at something and there's a reflection in the mirror. The reflection is actually Jinx as well. But then it's actually Powder right there. So there's so many like little parallels, little hidden things within that episode, but absolutely crazy episode. I thought it was really weird, because when you're looking for the next 3 episodes to drop, and like that's what set the last 3 episodes to be weird for me because it was just too much to take in. Because I'm like sitting there, I'm like, all right, here we go, baby, here we go. I stayed up for this like
Yeah,
next 3 episodes, and it's like, is this a filler? Like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, it was just like it was such like a curve. You know what I mean? Except for that first episode, but like when you finish it and you're just like, wow, wait, that was actually an incredible episode. I mean, again, everything we just talked about, Ekko and Jinx, and how they kind of had a little bit of a relationship in that timeline. Hey, I mean, again, Ekko just doesn't lose. Bro just was
yeah.
like always somehow finding dubs. Is able to now turn back time. 3 seconds, but still able to turn back time. Heimer then dies. Like that, just episode and Ekko kind of in the Arcane was just insane. It was just a treasure trove of like lore and like shit that's happening and to talk about, and it was just like that was only an episode. Like Jesus.
That's what I mean. Like it was almost a little too much. You know what I mean? It was the perfect amount of like stuff because I definitely would have to go back and watch that again to pick up on like the little things like, yeah, like you said, Jinx and in the reflection of the mirror, but it's actually Powder. Like
Mm-hmm.
all those little details are easy to miss when you're like just keyed in on the plot. But yeah, it was almost like too much. But like thinking back, you're like, oh my God, there was even from that episode, which yeah, in the beginning felt like kind of suspicious, kind of like a filler. But it's by the end of it, you're like, damn, what did I just watch? There was like so much there.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention all the shit Jace goes through, at the same time.
Oh my god, the Jason side of it, like my guy couldn't get a win. I'm talking about someone who did nothing but lose. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
very beginning, ends up, his lab explodes. Bro then is on trial, almost kicked out, has to do this shit in secret, finally becomes, like man of the year or whatever it's called, you know what I mean? And he starts winning, but then, things happen with Viktor, everything just spirals out of control. Now he's thrown into the Arcane, and it's not pleasant at all. It's like, here's the future, and it's scary, and it's shitty, but you need to win. If you don't, we're fucked. You know what
we're
I mean?
screwed.
And
Yeah,
he's like, all right, I got this, I can do it. But that's when we have, like, one of the greatest twists that we find out that the guy who saved Jace when he was a kid and gave him the stone, right? Saved him when he was a kid, gives him the stone, was Viktor all along. That was fucking incredible. That was when he like turned and showed his face. I was like, that's him. Like that's Viktor. Like that is Viktor. Like what the fuck? That was genius writing. That was amazing. I loved it.
really, really good. And like the line at the in the last episode where he's like, of all the possible timelines and like of all the people that this could be, it could only be you. It was like, damn, that really hits. And for me, that was like the ultimate fucking like way to bring together the very end of that storyline between Jayce and Viktor. Like, yeah, just incredible writing. Really, really good stuff.
The brotherhood. I mean, it was just perfect. Those two, I absolutely loved
Everything
them.
they went through, like the breakup, the different, experiences, different opinions and mindsets, but still
Hmm.
at the end of it they like are able to reconcile and kind of finish it together. Literally, that's what Jay says. It was super super good.
The I think it's slept on how intense and how wholesome and amazing those scenes were with Jason Victor. It was just absolutely incredible. Especially when Jace kind of brings him in for a hug and starts to kind of realize like after everything I've done, like how can you have faith in me? And he's like I never lost faith in you. Just kind of like hugs him and it was just like,
Yeah,
and that's when we kind of realize like out of and that's when I think the connection kind of makes Victor kind of see that memory. He's like it could only be you. You were the only one. Like they were saying, out of all the timelines, you were the only one who was able to make me see this. And then he ends up, turning good. Which, by the way, little sleeper, if you're still here and you play League of Legends, we are getting a Viktor rework, and Viktor is getting like a skin
eh.
and is getting a kit more built towards his Arcane version. So that is going to be amazing. 2025 is actually going to be a lit year for League of Legends, so I'm stoked. But yeah, like that was absolutely so cool. One of the greatest and coolest twists that dude, again, there's so many where it's like I in disbelief. But yeah, absolutely incredible. Going over to Mel and the Black Rose, another twist that was just absolutely insane. I didn't know what to think of Mel. I'm not gonna lie. When we first see her, she's ambitious as well, just like her mother, but not greedy, but she kind of seems like she could have been, right? Where she's like, I need to use somebody. I need someone who's an innovator, who's like creating, inventing. I need someone who's
She
going to
always had
change
an
the world.
angle,
Yeah, and
just like mom, like, but like less direct. She always had an angle, and
mm-hmm.
that's like how we're introduced to her. So like you're always kind of suspicious of Mel, like pretty much the entire time up until like the last few episodes, or
Well,
maybe just like the second season.
yeah, up in like the second season, because like you're onto her and you're kind of like, what's going on? And you end up like when she's with Jace and they kind of get together. I'm like, is that like real? I'm not sure if she's just using him, but it actually was real, and she actually like was like really into him. And she always had that angle, but again, it wasn't like her mom, where it was like for selfish reasons or greedy reasons. It was like for the right reasons. And now she's turned into this like mage. And first of all, the design looks fucking amazing. She's super strong. Her encounter with the Black Rose and kind of finding everything out about her mom's like affair, her being created, and then working with the Black Rose against Ambessa. It was just like absolutely insane. It was just incredible. That was such a cool little arc.
Really, really well done, and it gives her like way more purpose, and I think validates her
Hmm.
character because Mel was cool, but like we didn't really have anything for her. She just kind of like had a crush on Jay. She had a seat on the table in the council, but like she wasn't really going after anything major. Like once shit really hits the fan, like she wasn't making any like crazy moves or anything until yeah, she encounters the Black Rose. She kind of goes through that with the what does she call him? The deceiver or whoever's like the impersonator, with her brother, and then
Oh,
she like
that's LeBlanc, guys. For anyone wondering, it is LeBlanc. LeBlanc's actually kind of a hottie as well, so you guys will appreciate that. But yeah, that's LeBlanc.
and it was like a cool way to introduce the Black Rose because like there was some dialogue about it, but nothing crazy.
Hmm.
So for her to like kind of embrace that power and it gives them an edge, a way to fight against Ambessa at the end, which I thought was like a perfect way to do her character justice. And I ended up really liking Mel by the end of the show.
Oh my god, yeah, and it was nice how she got the powers, but wasn't overpowered. You know what I mean? Immediately, it's like she had
Yeah,
to like learn how to use them, and she kind of understood them in a way. Like she used them reactively, like emotionally, and then she kind of understood them, and then she started to get better with them. And then towards the end, she's pretty much in control. But like, I thought that was kind of cool too. How it wasn't just like, oh, turn on the switch, you're broken, have fun.
and yeah, and somebody's like the savior at the end, or like
Hmm.
Jace just with his massive hammer slugs everybody to pieces. Like nobody like got OP and like was the savior at
It
the
was
end
a
of the day,
team
which I think,
effort. Yeah.
yeah, I think made for a much better conclusion.
Yeah, I thought that was absolutely awesome. I think the Black Rose is so fascinating as well. It's really cool, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit more later, so we'll leave it at that for now. But let's get into the war. First of all, this is kind of getting a little farther ahead, but Jinx's entrance in was fucking just the coolest thing ever. I watched that clip like 19 times of like everyone kind of hears the music, and Bess was like, "Who the fuck is playing music? Like we're killing people right now. Like, are you kidding me?"
Build up was crazy for that because like
Dude,
this,
yes.
like the build up before that, the scene is like that. I don't know what you want to call him, Zaunite, the dude from Zaun, the like animal looking guy.
The animal can
I
go.
think
Wait, I'm confused now.
he's like, it looks like he's from Avatar. He's like not a humanoid. You know what I mean?
No, I'm like, wait, what are they doing? 'Cause that's probably gonna help me remember.
He picks up the grenade that like the big monster's like towing that thing, and he like snaps the grenade on it, like all that shit plays out, and then like you're like, yo, what the fuck is going on? Like it's straight mayhem.
Oh, so that's the
That's like,
Piltover soldier, though.
yeah, he's a Piltover soldier, but he comes from the underground. He's one of the people who leaves like
Yeah,
when Jayce brings all those people up. And they
yeah,
never like specify like what race they are, but like a couple of those people had some cool scenes in the
yeah.
war.
They
I really
did.
like that.
They absolutely did. But like, yeah, the build up for that was absolutely insane. You know, then you have like the smoke bombs, the cover ones. But like the way that they show Jinx, and like this is why Jinx is like my favorite character. Like I love her for like 900 reasons. Like she's just so cool and badass. You know what I mean? Like she really is just like a perfectly designed character. Like it just shows Jinx just like fucking like her like just I don't know like that way she was sitting. I'm like, is she no Chiha? Like she has the signature
Yeah,
badass
yeah.
pose down. You know, every Uchiha has a certain way that they sit that's fucking gangster as shit. Like fucking Jinx is just fucking just chilling there. You know what I mean? Just like in her hot air balloon. Right, and you know, and then she
Yeah.
gets up, she spins the wheel, and then it still shows it. She's got the cool hood, and it shows her face, and then it just kind of comes up, and she's just like ready to fucking go. Like, I'm here, bitches. You think there's gonna be death and violence, and I'm not gonna be here? Like, this is all I know how to do. You know what I mean? It was just so fucking sick. Then Ekko comes down. It was just like one of the coolest entrances ever. I thought that scene was just absolutely badass. Absolutely love that. I think that hood thing is sick. I thought that looked cool. Like the way that she like cut all of her hair off too after she's like super depressed because there was a lot of scenes with that with her, you know, trying to kill herself and Ekko bringing her back. I don't know if you guys know him or not. There's a game dev, you know, for League who streams. His name's August, and he actually commented on Arcane a lot. And after that, the last 3 episodes dropped, he brought up. He's like, I really, really, really like how Ekko used his reverse in time for that. Because they're like, you'd think like most characters would, yeah, use it in like combat and that would be the focus. He's like, but the way that Ekko is and the way that we designed Ekko and like who he, like his embodiment, like he's definitely the guy that would use it in a conversation. You know what I mean? And he's like, I'm so glad that they added that because that's such like an Ekko thing. That's something that makes Ekko Ekko. So the fact that he kept using it to
Yeah.
like talk Jinx off a ledge and they created that situation was just like such a perfect little thing that really, you know, just helps embody the character. So yeah, after she like, you know, kind of loses her shit, especially with Isha and everything, and cuts her hair, and now it's dyed, she's got some face paint on. I mean, dude, it was like it was so fucking cool, and especially like you said, the buildup was insane because the war was awesome. You know, Ambessa's bringing her people over. They're firing at them. You know what I mean? They storm the beach. They
Yeah.
got that sphere that's coming up. They're, you know, ambushing, trying to get it. They get blindsided by the blonde bitch. Oh my god! Again, thank God she died. We're all happy about that. You know, let us down below if you were happy that the blonde girl died. Like awful, awful. I hated her. But dude, it was like they did so many things that are perfect in that little like arc, I guess you can say.
Yeah. Like that war was so sick. And the way like I don't know, Caitlyn gets betrayed, you just see her get knocked out and like you don't really see kind of
We
what
all
happened.
saw it coming though.
Yeah, and like just like the way she's like super like the lack of remorse, she's just like super straightforward, like, oh, I appreciated your warmth, and then goes to shoot her. Like
Yeah, like
it's
fuck
like,
you.
dude, fuck you, you traitor, cheater, piece of shit. It's just like perfectly embodies who Ambessa is. Like, take the person closest to you, whatever I need you to do to get you to betray her, perfect. The person that she propped up,
Oh, and
Caitlyn.
she did the "I told you so" too. Like I told you not to get close with people or something like that. Like close with your
Yeah,
subordinates. And it's like, all
dude,
right,
Ambessa
bitch.
was such a good villain. Like I
Mm-hmm.
felt like her and the blonde girl who was like a turncoat, really, really satisfying deaths.
Oh my god, yes. Perfect. Not
And
only good guys died.
that was a really sick scene to kind of like unveil Mel using her powers like to ricochet the bullet and fucking kill the blonde girl. It was like, what was that? Like it, because Caitlyn didn't have any like arcane powers. It was like,
Yeah.
what's going on there? So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was absolutely amazing. That brings Mel into the battlefield. You knew she was coming down. She spotted her mom out there, and then you have that whole interaction, and then that build up. Then of course leads to Jinx's entrance. But that was so cool having Mel out there too, and then like um, taking on her mom. We go back and see, Caitlyn's training with Ambessa, and she starts using that. And even like 2-on-1, Mel is this powerful mage as well, and Ambessa's just taking them on. It really goes to show just how much of a warrior Ambessa was. Like, she was so fucking
Yeah.
strong. She didn't have arcane powers. You know what I mean? She had the runes that helped deflect shit, but that was it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like it just kind of like solidifies kind of like her place and like how strong she is as a leader and like kind of how she got to this point in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool to kind of see her like 2v1 them and kind of get the upper hand. Like she stabs Caitlyn and everything. It was like,
Yeah.
damn. Like how are they gonna get rid of her?
And I don't know what Ambessa was thinking, the way like she kind of like always treated Mel. Not necessarily like in a bad way, but like if you knew that Mel was going to be this weapon, at least treat her a little bit better, where she's not going to turn to the Black Rose, because she made it too easy for Mel to be like, yeah, you know what, I'm actually going to go with this other group. She'd be a
You
little bit
gave her
better.
no option, and
Yeah,
that was kind of like a direct consequence of Ambessa's. I don't want to know if you want to say parenting or leadership or both, but she basically pushed her into that situation. So that's on Ambessa.
yeah, and that was sick. Um, then going towards the end there, you have Ekko. Ekko really, up until this point, you have like 900 scenes, which are just like absolutely incredible. The twist of them finally breaking open that sphere and it's empty, and like, gotcha, you know what I mean? And then you have Jayce's and Viktor's showdown, where Jayce was like, that's where Jayce went. I don't know if anybody recognized that when Jayce was in the Arcane, he was at the top, right there. Like that's where he was like cemented. You know what I mean? And that's where him and Viktor now have that same confrontation. In real time, and that had that amazing scene. Ekko came in and had that badass scene. Like he just looked so cool, just flying through everybody. You thought it was over. We thought, no, they're not gonna be able to do it. And then Ekko comes in clutch. Cranks up the timer and reverses time and is able to, the boys were able to
So
get it
sad.
done. Yeah, just amazing. I absolutely loved it. I think that war, incredible, perfectly done. It was insane that it was
Yeah.
a 50-minute thing. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Again, fuck you guys. Arcane. I mean Arcane, not the viewer. Arcane. Because we talked about in the last podcast episode where like if you Google shit, it tell you something that's completely fucking wrong and it always changes and it's bullshit. There was people saying that like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, guys, last episode of Arcane is going to be long. It is going to be very long. It was an extra 10 minutes longer, you assholes. Like, what do you
Yeah,
mean?
not like an hour and a half or like a movie
Yeah,
style thing.
exactly. But the fact that they're able to get that war, that the whole war, and then also the end, scenes, in that 50 minutes was absolutely insane. It was just incredible from start to finish. So many great moments, and it was insane. It was only like 40 minutes long.
Yeah, and like I mean, just so much content and like action and like little details packed into like 40, 50 minutes. Really, like I've said this a bunch of times, but you really do have to watch it more than once to kind of like pick up on everything and really appreciate the depth of how like each episode is crafted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And is there anything else you want to say about the that little war arc, or do you want to get into, guys, Jinx is alive, and here's how we know?
I feel like it's very straightforward. Like we're led up very well to understand like who what everybody's fighting for and kind of like you know but seeing the actual ending between Jayce and Viktor, that was my favorite part. I thought that shit was awesome.
Dude, it's so hard to pick like a favorite part, because anytime I talk about an aspect of Arcane, I'm like, that was goated. That was my favorite. It was like
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
what the whole thing was. Both seasons, everything was absolutely phenomenal. They're all my favorite characters. I love them all. I love every scene. I love every aspect of it. They did no wrong. They did everything perfect. It's insane, and you can talk about it forever and ever and ever. And we missed like 900 things. You know what I mean? There's so many things that we
I
didn't
know,
even
yeah.
talk about. know, because there's just so much. Yeah, Jason Victor, that whole moment was like goated. It was just fucking perfect. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, just you saw it. You know what I mean? Like you guys know. Um, but yeah, going to the Jinx is still alive. So this is where things kind of get crazy. First of all, Jinx said, remember when Jinx locked up Vi and was like, I'm gonna go set things right. I'm gonna break the cycle. Silco in
Yeah,
season one said the only way to break the cycle is to walk away. So also in episode one, remember the ships going up overhead and Jinx talks about flying out on it one day?
yeah,
What ship flew out in the same exact way at the very end of the last episode? So here's kind of how she's still alive and how it all kind of works together. Jinx was brought back using shimmer, right? So her eyes are pink, and every time she dashes and moves, and she's speedy, you see the line of hot pink, and you even see it when she decks Warwick. You see both the streaks, from her eyes. Well, if you slow it down when they fall and it explodes, right before it explodes, there's actually a dash of hot pink moving to the side. Where she shot out and used her shimmer speed to fly out to the side. It then shows Kate looking at, how her mom had that like key thing to have all like the diagrams and the prints and stuff, and that's how she found out the gas, and she went on her little spec ops war campaign, in design.
yeah.
Well, she's going through that again, and she sees the construction of the gate, and she sees all the air ducts. And when she sees that, you see her smile. She knows that Jinx, was able to escape and escape through the air ducts, and she knew that Jinx was alive and was gonna just keep quiet. But then she just goes over to Vi. You know what I mean? That's when she just kind of goes over to just hang out with her. But she knew that like I can't tell her. I just got to let them both kind of just move on. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that was so deep. And like
mm-hmm,
that decision is the first time somebody's like, yeah, kind of like I have to do what I have to do to break the cycle and not go with the emotional decision. You're right. That
exactly.
was a heavy hitter. That's like very understated too. It's shown, not told.
Exactly. Like you see Caitlyn smile. It's like, you know what? Because like Jinx and Caitlyn started to grow on each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Caitlyn even says like, I didn't necessarily arrest your sister. Like she kind of surrendered. You know what I mean? Like they kind of like became like friends-ish in a way. They started to understand each other. A huge concept here.
Yes.
So you kind of see that smile where she's like, you know what? I'm glad she's still alive. I'm glad she left and she was able to get out of her past because your past doesn't define you. But when you've done as much as you've done, you're never gonna be able to leave it. You're gonna be living in your past, and until you leave this place, you're never able to live in the present and to move on and to grow and to heal. So I'm gonna let you go do your thing, and I'm not gonna tell your sister so she can move on with her life and do her thing. Because a lot of Vi sitting on the fence, it was because she was not able to either move forward with her new life or to stay in the past with her old one. Every decision was because of that, right? Jinx and Caitlyn, with Warwick, she wasn't able to let go of Vander. The past is the past. You can't keep holding on to that. She almost died because of that, and Jinx almost died because of that. But yeah, 100%, Jinx is still alive. She shot out through the air ducts. She rode that ship out. No idea where she is, but thank God she is still alive.
Heck yeah, dude. She was such a good character and like
Mm-hmm.
she really grew on me. And I was like looking through the champions list and I'm like, man, if I was gonna play somebody, it'd be hard not to pick Jinx or um like Ekko. I think would be cool. It would just be hard to like not pick somebody from Arcane because like it was so easy to grow to love these
Mm-hmm.
characters.
Bro, it's and Jinx is such a fun character to use. Like I'm trying to get Jinx's arcane skin because like Jinx
Nice,
is
yeah.
my favorite ADC to use in the game. I think that Jinx is like such a cool fucking character. Like in all honesty, like if I'm picking anime characters, she probably is in my top 10 like all time favorites. I just love her design. I love the craziness, but I love the emotional feel with it too, the emotional depth. She isn't just some crazy psycho Joker or Harley Quinn type. No, you actually can kind of see where she snapped. You can see kind of the remorse and like the scared and the sorrow and the anger with that craziness. You know what I mean? She's actually three-dimensional instead of just, oh, I'm crazy, let's blow stuff up. You know what I mean? Which I absolutely loved. I love the character development, the design, her interactions. So yeah, just absolutely amazing. I'm so glad she's alive. Before we go and talk about the future and kind of like where we're going next, which I wonder if Jinx is going to be there, because she is just flying out on the ship. We do have overlap, just because we're going into a region, and this is League of Legends. There were plenty of champions in League that are part of Piltover and Zaun that weren't in the show. Just because a champion might be there doesn't mean they're going to be in the show, and also because of that, that doesn't mean that champions from other areas aren't going to be in whatever they're at. You know what I mean? Champions can move around. We saw Ambessa, Mel, the Black Rose, three things that weren't a part of Piltover or Zaun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like the unpredictability of these two seasons kind of makes me like not want to guess. Like Jinx is definitely a fan favorite, and like I've seen a lot of people post about her online, or like just praising her as a character. It'd be hard not to imagine some kind of like scene or episode or role for Jinx, but at the same time, like they're moving forward. This is going to change, and like they're going to do what they're going to do. So like kind of like you said, it's hard to know what to expect, because there were people that were involved in Piltover and Zaun that weren't involved, and vice versa for these two seasons.
Yeah, so it's gonna be really interesting to see kind of what happens. I don't know if they will kind of bring her in because just because you kind of just want her to move on. She's already had her time. She was a
It's a
main
good ending
focus
too.
Yeah, she's a main focus. Just let's pretend she's somewhere in just living a good life. You know what I mean? And kind of go from there type of thing. But yeah, so where we're going next, and then we're actually gonna be talking about Singe. I didn't forget about him. We're gonna be talking about Singe because there's some stuff you want to know. Where we're going next is Noxus. So the Black Rose, Mel, and Bessa. I just said they're not a part of Piltover or Zaun. Where are they from? They're from Noxus. So, of course, it's a perfect segue to kind of move over there. First of all, it seems like Mel took over her mom's army and is commanding them, and is also going to be heading home. So Mel is going to be that carryover, into the next project. It seems like, the Black Rose is from Noxus as well. So it seems like our storyline between them and Mel and whatever's happening is going to then carry over into the next season, as into the next show as well, the next project. Towards the end, you probably saw a crow. Remember that scene with the crow, kind of snooping around. Well, it opened up three eyes. That is Swain. Swain is from Noxus. He was very particular about what was kind of going on, keeping an eye on things. So here's why I think that Noxus could be such a cooler fucking series than Arcane. So pretty much what it is that Swain kind of like runs the place. Like, so there's kind of like three heads, right? You have Swain, you have Darius, another very cool champion, and then a mysterious masked woman who is no one really knows anything about. So you're adding a lot of mystery to it as well. They kind of run the thing. You have a god that is Kindred. Kindred's like a spiritual god, which is really cool, that deals with the dead. Because of that, Kindred kind of had some beef with Mordekaiser, another really cool champion that people love. Mordekaiser, the thing about Noxus is that, like, Noxus is like that region that conquers everything. So when Mordekaiser was alive, he conquered the world. Then he died, but he refused to die, so he kind of came back and he conquered the world again. And then he started fucking with the dead. Kindred didn't like that, so that's when LeBlanc and Vladimir created the Black Rose to imprison Mordekaiser, which is why they're obsessed with power, because they think that Mordekaiser will one day come back and they need the power to kill him, which is why they overextend their reach in the name of, oh, this might happen, so you need to let us do whatever we want, which Ambessa doesn't like, right? So you have a lot of things here in play, which is very fascinating. You have a region that's ever changing because it's all about war and conquering. You have a god, so you're dealing with the god. You're dealing with a weird, special, insane cult, which is the Black Rose. You're dealing with the Arcane still, because now, Noxus is dealing with the Arcane with their time in Piltover. You have characters like LeBlanc, Vladimir, Mordekaiser, Swain, Darius, which are all cool. Riven. Oh my god, when I got into the game, I started playing Riven, and she's such a cool fucking character. A very loved character. She's so cool. Riven the Exile. She was in the army, and then she got, like, she could be in it. Katarina. Okay, but, like, it's one of those things where, like, yeah, this could easily be Arcane, because, you you have the stage set. Like what they can do with it creatively is insane. Like I said, you're dealing with again gods. You're dealing with a very cool cult, not like Viktor's cult, but like the Black Rose. Getting more into that, meeting the other head Vladimir, but also learning a bit more about LeBlanc. Having the three heads that kind of govern the place. Dealing with Mordekaiser, having a region that's constantly in war and battling, and they're really fucking good at it and conquering places. You have other characters like that are there that could be very entertaining, that are beloved, very well designed characters. I feel like Noxus is going to be absolutely incredible. I think it's guaranteed. I mean, with seeing Squid at the end, yeah, that's going to kind of show here's where we're going next. What else would you have from there? I mean, you already have two things that were like that were in Piltover, like with the Black Rose and with now Ambessa and now Mel with the army. That's a great carryover, a great intro into Noxus and into the next region. And then also they decided, hey, 2025 guys, for League, what we're gonna do is we're gonna have themes throughout the year where we're gonna design cool stuff, and that's gonna be fun. We're doing a lot of changes. The first theme we're gonna do, to start 2025 off, is Noxus.
Nice.
Kind of interesting. So now throughout League, we're gonna be more focusing on the regions and kind of having them designed with the map and dealing with new characters and new skins, and it's gonna be like really cool. And of course, starting with Noxus is like, okay, like we get it. You guys are really good at showing, not telling. You've shown us plenty to the point where you kind of written it on the forehead. You know what I mean? So for all those reasons, yeah, it's definitely most likely going to be Noxus, and it's going to be absolutely incredible because you have a stage that's already set. Like, if you were to talk about, like, oh yeah, we're going to have a series and it's going to be about Jayce, Heimerdinger, Vi, Caitlyn, it's like, and Piltover and so on, it's like, okay, well, what's this going to be about? It's just, there's a lot of mystery, it's like, what are you going to do with that? With this, it's like, what are you not going to do with it? You know what I mean? Like you're going to you're gonna be missing out on so much stuff. It's gonna be so easy for them. You know what I mean? So yeah, I feel like the next project is going to blow this out of the water.
Yeah, you already have like a really cool established cast, and I think you have a lot of new fans too, and it's like the perfect opportunity to kind of show them, a little bit of what League has, a little deeper, a little more like into it. And some of the characters you just explained, I literally just Googled Mordekaiser. I'm like, badass. That guy looks sick.
Yes, doesn't he?
Like you said, it's probably going to be tough to fit a lot of that in there because even like the first two seasons of Arcane, it's like an overwhelming amount of like story and like different characters and stuff. Like you really got to pay attention. So I'm sure they'll have like their hands full trying to like pinpoint what they want to do. But yeah, the possibilities are limitless. You have tons of stuff to pull from. It'll be sick no matter what they choose.
Yeah, not only is the environment just absolutely perfect and chaotic, not only the characters so well designed, but now you're dealing with so much more. Like the Arcane really fascinated people because it was like this weird, mysterious, otherworldly thing. With here, you have so much more of that. Because like I said, you're dealing with like kindred, and you're dealing with like gods and spirits. You're dealing with more mages like Mel, you know what I mean? Because LeBlanc is so cool. She's such an interesting character. Vladimir is a vampire, I'm pretty sure. You know what I mean? Swain, dude, fucking Swain killed the devil. That's how he has his powers. He fucking went to take powers from a devil and fucking killed it, beat the shit out of it. He's like, you're mine now, bitch. And that's how he's this all-powerful being. Like, you have so much more incredible, outliers, I think, that fascinate people. You know what I mean? Kind of like the Arcane House, this mysterious whole thing. You're taking multiple of those things and putting it in Noxus. So it's going to be something that really just engages people and really kind of pushes it more into the end of fantasy, right? I feel like this was really tame still until season 2. Then you got with Warwick and with the experiments kind of more so succeeding. Then you got way more into the Arcane and how it's like, oh, it's not what we think. It's not just technology. There's way more to this and more of these other beings and more like wizards and mages and magic. I feel like Arcane Season 1 set that up with normal into, now we're kind of getting into the crazy, and now next project, full fucking fantasy, baby. It's going to be absolutely insane. You're going to not know what the fuck's going on, but it's going to be incredible.
Yeah, I think it'll be really sick. You have like such a deep pool to pull from, and I think a lot of people are interested now, and yeah, basically the sky's the limit. I think they can do literally whatever they want. And it would be cool to kind of explore some of that more fantasy aspect of it. I think that's what kind of makes it really exciting and leaves you those limitless options.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think as an anime fan in general, like you're more receptive to that stuff than if you like didn't watch this type of media.
And it's so cool that this is happening as well because like I forget what character it was, but a character was coming out in League and they got pushed back for like I think like months, like for a very long time. When they were supposed to come out, and it was 100% purely because of the lore. This game has no story in it. It's one of those things where they just draw up a lore for that character, and it's kind of like a cool thing that some people cared about. But like they really cared about it. It really mattered to them. So to now see that hard work being put into such an incredible thing, it's just like yes, this was perfect. This needs to be done, and it's like such a great thing because you start getting into it. I didn't know anything about the lore at all. I actually watched Arcane before I started playing League. Because I was gonna play it, but it was like, yeah, don't play it. Just watch Arcane. It's actually pretty cool. And I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Let's play League. That's gotta be awesome too. It is. But you start getting more into the lore now because I'm like, with Arcane, I'm kind of looking into this more. You know, I was told all this stuff about Noxus and stuff like that with all these characters. I'm like, dude, this is so fascinating. But then you start like learning more about the other regions and other characters. You're like, dude, like this lore is actually so fucking cool. It's actually so elaborate and so like it's like 5D chess. Like it is absolutely incredible. So future projects are going to be absolutely insane. And just to kind of reinstate that and kind of talk about Singe now. So a big part of Singed is first of all, I think Blitzcrank was another one's creations that we just didn't end up seeing, which is heartbreaking. But a lot of people didn't understand and didn't know. Like Singe's daughter was in that medical tube, right? They showed her for like 5 seconds, and it was like, oh yeah, like, well, here's why I do it is for my daughter. I want to bring her back from the dead. Well, that's Orianna. She's a champion in League. It's something you never know unless you knew the lore. And someone ended up saying that, like, wait, that's Orianna? Like, are you kidding me? Like, that 5 seconds you show his daughter, and you kind of make it seem like it's nothing. Like, oh, finally we kind of get an explanation from the mad scientist, who, by the way, is so cool because he was from Piltover, too. He was a scientist from Piltover, very established, very like honored, and then he kind of got sent away to Zaun, and he does his experiments and to try to do this crazy shit. Having that then be shown at the end, I don't know if you saw it, but they showed Orianna. He built her, like he built her robotic form. He brought her back to life. They're
you only get that scene for like a split
3
second
frames.
Of
yep.
And it's like a corner of her in like the beauty mirror, which I thought was really like tasteful. And if you didn't tell me that, I wouldn't have known because I don't know Orianna. So
Exactly.
I was like, oh, yo, that's thick. Like, very subtle. And again, show, not tell.
And they barely show it. That's the crazy part. Like you would never think that of her in this tube. They never explained any of that or who she is and kind of like what his plans are. And then at the end there, you're kind of going through everyone's ending, and you literally, it's like 5 frames of him with Orianna, and you would see that and you'd be like, what the fuck is this? Like, who cares? Like, what? But it's like, oh no, like he was able to use that arcane technology to then create a body for Orianna, and now she's back from the fucking dead. And that's such a cool storyline that they just never touched on, but they kind of showed little like snippets of. And I was like, dude, this is so sick. So Singe was such a slept-on character for that reason. Like, there's so many amazing things where he was like very like in the lore that they kept teasing with. But if you didn't know, you'd never know, because they actually show Warwick all of season 1 as well. You probably don't remember, but there's multiple times of him hanging up on the ceiling. Right?
Yeah.
He was actually hanging above Jinx when Singe brought Jinx back to life as well. He was right above her.
He like felt like a background character, and like I remember the name Singe, so I knew he was a champion, but like they treat him like a background character and like doesn't like make moves up front, like he's a very much in the shadows kind of guy.
Yeah.
Despite not actually being that way, like in the show or in the lore or anything, which I think is kind of cool. Like, kind of like if you know type of thing.
Yeah,
and, like,
exactly.
I don't know. It just makes like being a fan, I think, a little more rewarding, or it's like an Easter egg. I don't know what the right way to describe it is, but like as a fan, you're like, yeah, that's kind of fucking sick.
No, yeah. If you don't know League of Legends, you don't care about Singe. But if you're a fan, it's like that's your reward. Everything that he did. Because again, all through season 1, you see Warwick. Like, he's hanging in the ceiling. He was hanging above Jinx. You know what I mean? Like, Vander was there the whole time, and people didn't know that. People didn't know that, like, oh, when you see the wolf hanging above Jinx and bringing her back to life, it's like, oh no, that's her dad. And like regular fans completely breeze by, and they probably still don't know that now. Like, if you don't know League of Legends and you just watched Arcane, and you're watching this and you're at this part, what's up? But let us know in the comments down below if you knew that or not. Because that's like such a crazy, fucking insane thing. And then of course with Orianna, like, people don't know the significance of her or how like impactful she is. But then at the same time, like you then kind of get that little like snippet of like he's like, oh yeah, I do this for my daughter and like stuff like that. But then that little bit at the end, you would never know that's her because it looks completely different. Because it's like this robotic arcane form for her. You know what I mean? So to kind of get those like
Yeah.
couple of frames, seeing that, it was kind of like if you know, you know, and it was like an amazing moment, and it was crazy because like he was the only one who got like that happy ending. You know what I mean? Out of
Yeah.
everybody, he got his daughter back.
Very understated at that too. Like
Mm-hmm.
a happy ending at like what cost? But like, yeah, he's kind of the only one who gets what he sets out to get, and
Mm-hmm.
like minimal consequences.
I mean, I guess Jinx kind of gets the happy ending too because she ends up riding out on that ship that they show for a couple of seconds,
That's true.
and that kind
Yeah.
of helps show that like, hey, she left, she's moving on, But like, yeah, yeah, what an insane season two. I mean, I feel like we can.
Stellar.
I mean, boys, I mean, 2 hours here, and I mean, I feel like we can go on for another like two or three. Like, there's still so many things we didn't talk about. There's so many things we can go more in depth of. Like, everything they did was absolutely incredible. When it comes to the soundtrack, guys, go to Spotify, click on Arcane, and then just start clicking everything. Shit I've added to my list, Rebel Heart, Hellfire, Renegade, Heavy is the Crown, both versions. I mean, like, there is so many incredible songs. Oh my god, the line, if you want to cry, listen to the line. What have they done to us? It's just absolutely insane. Dirty Little Animals, Playground, Come Play, Sucker, like just so many incredible songs. Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I listen to all these songs when I play League. It's absolutely insane. Legends Never Die. Like you paint the town blue. Oh my god. Like seriously, I think the soundtrack was phenomenal in this show, and I feel like it needs to be talked about more because literally every song in this goddamn show is one of my favorites now. Like the ones that hype you up, the heavy ones, the sad ones, all of them were beyond perfect. Like it's insane.
It's funny, like I have a very strange taste in music. It's all over the place, and like there's so many different artists that I'm a fan of that are made it to this
That
soundtrack.
were part
Like,
of the project.
yeah, you have like two of the girls from G Idol, or three of them,
Mm-hmm.
like doing a song, and then you have Misha from Periphery, like a metal band, doing like the fight scene for the Beast. It
The
was like,
fucking
damn, like
21 Pilots as well.
yeah, like
It's
Imagine
like
Dragons, just like a lot of really good, like different artists, which
Linkin
I think
Park.
makes
Like
yeah,
what the
yeah,
fuck,
that's
bro?
huge. Obviously, like having a budget is like a big part of that, but like, dude, as a fan of like
Dude,
those
what
artists,
budget? Like, are you kidding me?
yeah, exactly.
What budget?
Money is not an option. But like as a fan, totally hit hard. The
Mm.
soundtrack, you're right, is really criminally underrated.
Yeah, and like it's insane how they're able to do that. Like I have never like okay, we've talked about it because of course, guys, the anime podcast. But like we're never ones to really judge like animation or like voice actors or like anything like in a bad way. We just enjoy shit, you know what I mean? And it like when something stands out to us, like it stands out, and never in like any really TV show or movie has a soundtrack like this stood out the way it does. Like I said, I took their entire fucking soundtrack and I put it into my playlist, multiple playlists, because all the songs are that fucking good, and I listen to them on repeat
Mhm.
over and over and over again. They're just amazing.
Dude, so good. I'm trying to think. What is that song? I don't know. I'm forgetting like the name of it.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, Pop Stars, like the KDA group, so good, dude.
Yeah.
I jam their shit all the time. Like, really, really good.
Yeah, so listen, what are you doing? Don't gatekeep this shit. Recommend it to every friend you have. Listen, I bully people into watching that. You do the same. I have gotten thank yous, not like yelled at. I'm not blocked on anything. I'm being rewarded. So bully everybody you know into watching it. It's gonna be worth it. They will thank you. You will thank you. I will thank you because then we're gonna have more projects out quicker, and maybe they'll extend the budget. Whenever they figure out a budget. You know what I mean?
Yeah, whenever they decide, yeah.
Maybe we should, be careful with this. No, no, no. Money's no object. All right, they know how to spend it. Let's just say that. So yeah, tell everybody you know. Listen to the soundtrack. It's absolutely amazing. And listen, I am beyond excited for the next project. Of course, I said a lot about Noxus. Could it be something else? Absolutely, but they are heavily, heavily, heavily suggesting it is going to be Noxus, and what they do with it, I have no idea. Because like I said, they don't use all the resources that they have, and they also create. You know what I mean? Like I said, with Piltover and Zaun, they created things that weren't there before, and they also left things out that were there. So what they do with Noxus or with any other of these regions is going to be absolutely crazy. I have faith in them. Like, completely. If this
100%.
doesn't get Anime of the Year, shame on you. Shame on you. Like, what can beat
At least
this?
a nomination. Like, I'm sure there's politics that play into it, but it's got to be nominated. I have no questions it will be. It probably will win, and as it should.
I mean, like, I'm trying to think of like what would beat it. Like, what's better than this? And not even like from an anime point of view, but just anything in general. You know what I mean?
The only animes that I would put it up against, I would say, are like Dandadan and Kaiju number 8, but it was still a better story than Kaiju. I think
Yeah.
Kaiju's value lies later in the story, and Dandadan's not even done yet, so it's hard to say. And I don't know. It's different too, having like a season 1 versus like a premiere. You know what I mean? Or
That
a
is
season 2
true.
versus a premiere. Like, you're still getting to know characters for a little bit. Like, season 2 came in like full force, so
Oh my god,
definitely
yes.
gets my vote.
I mean, the only thing I'd say is that it's not fair with how much money they've spent and the resources gone into it because like you're not able to compete. You know what I mean? Like you're like
Yeah.
any anime this year is the underdog just because they put 250 million just into the fucking animation. Let's not even talk about the soundtrack or the marketing or anything else they've done with it. You know what I mean? So like yeah, it was amazing. Is there anything else you want to say about it before we wrap it up here? I mean,
Just watch it.
fuck.
It's so addicting. It really is like so
Mhm.
easy to fall for it and really get into the characters. And there's a ton of different storylines. Like, I mean, we just went over. Just watch it and
Yeah.
recommend it to a friend because it really is that good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna rewatch it again. Like you made a great point. Like just rewatch it and just see all the things you missed because it's insane. The detail in the anime is incredible, absolutely incredible. I can't wait.
So good. And then like you're not worried about the plot because you know what
Mhm.
happens in the story. You're like looking for the details and the Easter eggs, and with a little more information, you're like, oh, that was sick. I missed that. So yeah, definitely gonna rewatch season 2.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. I hope you guys enjoyed. If there's any major talking points that we didn't talk about, let's start the conversation in the comments down below. Because I'll definitely talk you
Hell
guys'
yeah.
ears off with it. Like I'm down. Like let's keep it going. But anyways, that is it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, if you want to check out our anime podcast, episodes come out every Tuesday. We talk about Dan to Dan. We talk about Blue Box, Blue Lock. We talk about a ton of amazing things. So if you're into anime, you are in the right place. But that is it, guys. Until next time, peace.